What's up, Group Coach Nation? Got Devin Butler here today. We're going to talk about creating, building, monetizing communities. So we'll dive in here in a second. But the reason I asked Devin on this call is because we've actually been working with Devin. We've spoken on the same stage before. Like I'm seeing Devin actually do this, and I'm being a part of the communities he's building. And the dude knows how to absolutely build and monetize communities in a serious way. So Devin, I'll introduce yourself in a little more detail here in a second, but what you've done with Arizona entrepreneurs and what you're doing with the group coaching and mastermind building programs you got, you're absolutely really good at this. I see a lot of people who can build followings and a lot of people who know how to build an offer, but it's rare that somebody knows how to build an actual community that feels like home to people and they want to pay to be in there. So well done you, first of all, for doing that. So tell me, give me a little background so people can get started here. What do you, I don't know, if you were to label yourself, give yourself a job title, which is weird as entrepreneurs. If you were to give yourself a job title right now, what would the job title be? And then how did you kind of get there? Give me the backstory.
Yeah. So I would say, well, first off, I appreciate you having me here. Excited to speak to your group, but I would say community builder, which is pretty much what we have in the title here. But I've really built my background in the last 6 years of my life to this point have been building my own community here in the state of Arizona. And to give a little bit of context there, it's a networking community mastermind where we're bringing business owners together, supporting them and building relationships and helping them to grow and scale their companies through coaching and education. So I built this community myself, and then the natural progression, which I thought originally it was going to just be other networking groups, masterminds, things of that nature, but we've shifted into the coaching niche, seeing that we can provide the most value to coaches, experts, people who are selling high ticket offers online, and helping them to build a community around what they're doing. But all the same principles apply, whether you're building an online community, whether you're building a networking event, bringing people together in person. It's really all about how can you foster community and connectivity between the group, and also how can you monetize that where it's something that people want to stay and be involved with.
I love that. And it works. One thing I was going to say before Devin and I jumped on live here was, Devin, have you noticed a trend where YouTubers, and I think people are just going live in general, but let's say YouTubers are getting more chill, and they're not as, oh my gosh, it's so great to see you today, you'll never believe what's happening. Have you noticed this shift?
I have on both social media platforms, YouTube and Instagram, and a lot of the ones that I hang out on. But I just noticed that people are just talking how they would normally talk versus being all hypey. And it seems to be working a lot better, because that's what I want to watch. And I feel like most people are the same way.
I totally agree. Yeah. I totally agree. It was so, I don't know if it was 2020 or what got everybody going that way, but it's kind of exhausting to watch people who are over the top hyped.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of makes me want to go back a few years ago and take down some of our content, because I think we were a little more hyped.
I've noticed some of the courses I've shot too. I'm like, why am I talking like that? What is
It's so much more relaxing being on camera this way too, just being yourself. Who knew? Yeah. Okay, so talk about community building. So when I think of community building and monetizing it, as somebody who teaches, and anybody at Group Coach Nation, we all know this, we're huge fans of start at the top rung of the value ladder. What are you really going to do? Sell the big thing, go for it. It's just as hard to bring in a $100 client as it is a $10,000 or $100,000 client. So I always think top of the ladder, because that's my skill set, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you build large communities, and I've never been that great at that. I just haven't. I love our small communities, but kind of walk me through the how does it start? Is it I don't know. I don't even know. I would think, oh, it starts, I have to have an Instagram following, I have to have a huge thing on LinkedIn going. And how does it actually start though? Because you do it really rapidly.
Yeah. So the way that I see communities, especially building a big community, is, so say I'm an influencer and I have 100,000 followers on Instagram. The way that I see that, it's me speaking from stage and everybody else is in the audience listening to me speak. It's you're on a platform speaking to this group of people, but they don't have any way to interact with you, to engage with you other than leaving a comment on your post. they don't have a way to engage with you as well as the other peers, like the other people that are among those 100,000 that are following you on Instagram. So the way that I think about community building is like, how can you create peer-to-peer connections and also give people access to more of your world and be able to connect with them in an online platform, speaking from this route. The same thing applies for in person, but really the way that I think about community is just like, how are you able to bring all of these people together? And that is the best funnel into bringing people in. So whether you have a high ticket coaching offer, a monthly recurring subscription, like a lower ticket community, it does a way better job of converting to an offer if you're doing that from a lens of like bringing peer-to-peer connections, doing live coaching calls, like providing a lot of free value up front or low ticket, and using that as a channel to bring in people to your coaching program. And I always say this for Arizona entrepreneurs, because I've been doing it we had our 4-year anniversary in October. So it's been about 4.5 years, like building that community. And the version of myself that started it, first of all, was like, I was a failed entrepreneur. Like I didn't have like a big success under my belt. I was just new to Arizona, passionate about business. And I saw the value of like bringing local business owners together. And over the last 4.5 years, we brought together over 6,000 entrepreneurs, like in person at our live events. And if I was, say, a coach or an expert, like at the time I wasn't, I was a struggling entrepreneur. So I didn't have all the answers and things figured out. But if I was a coach, a mentor, if I had a marketing agency, if I had a complimentary service to offer all these entrepreneurs that I was bringing together, I would have been able to impact a lot more people and make a lot more money. But the whole route that I went was just monetizing the community directly. So that's why we work specifically with like coaches and experts and people who already have a high ticket offer to sell, because when they build a community, you're able to, build your authority positioning, your credibility. You're able to provide a lot more value up front and just impact a lot of people and use that as a way to like get people to know, like, and trust you before they work with you in your high ticket coaching programs.
That makes a ton of sense. Okay, so I think a lot of people think this, I sure did, that we'd have to have a huge following or a list or something. But it sounds like you started Arizona Entrepreneurs Association like without, like you just started it.
Yeah.
How do you start getting, so let's say like you want to start a community, but you don't have that big list or big following. How do you start it? Do you have to lean on affiliates, or do you just, like, how do you start it? This is like
Yeah.
totally a black box to me. I have no idea what's inside.
No, good question. So there's really, with Arizona entrepreneurs, it's like if you don't have an audience or a list, it's going to take a lot more involvement of building an audience and building a brand to where it's something that people want to engage with. So with Arizona entrepreneurs, it was like over the last 4.5 years that we've built a brand. We've been doing events, things of that nature. But to your point, say I'm looking to start an online community or I'm looking to host a networking event, I feel like the same things apply, whether it's in person or virtual. The first thing you have to do is just figure out, how can I consistently connect with my ideal clients or the people that I want to bring together in this community? And so there's a lot of ways in which you can do that rapidly without having an audience existing already. So the few that work really well, like to get, I guess, a little bit into the strategy side of it, LinkedIn cold outreach. So we do like a LinkedIn automation process where we're able to pull a very specific demographic and target audience and send them automated connection requests and messages to like create a conversation. And it's not like the spammy LinkedIn messages we all get hit with, where it's like a novel that someone sends you. It's literally just like, hey, great to connect with you, and just starting a conversation with your demographic and giving them something of free value to add, whether that's, hey, come to one of our in-person events for free, where they would want to be in that room. So LinkedIn automation, cold emailing, paid advertising, like a lot of the cold outreach approaches, as well as paid advertising when you're starting, is going to be the easiest way to like actually start to connect with people and have something that you're inviting and setting them into. But obviously, if you have a huge audience, and there's some creators we've worked with that have had hundreds of thousands of YouTube subscribers, it's way easier to kickstart a community and to like get it to a high monthly recurring revenue mark when they already have an existing audience that's looking for some sort of opportunity like that.
And then do you build these communities, like, pro tip here, do you build these communities on like in a LinkedIn group or a Facebook group or an Instagram platform, or do you build them like out of the social media space so you have a little more control, like in something like school or Circle or Go High Level or whatever. There's options out there.
Yeah,
Not
there's so many.
necessarily what you particularly do, but like, what do you recommend? Do you recommend stay on platform in the socials, or do you recommend own that space? Like, where do you go?
It's a good question. I feel like it's not one size fits all. For the type of communities that we're building, I really recommend school. And the reason is because our main model is we're helping people build a free community, fill it with their ideal clients, and use it as an ascension model to bring in people into their high ticket offer. And so with that route, school just has so many users right now. Like, so if I go into my school group, which has about 500 people in it, and I like click on a given user, there's 9 times out of 10 they're in a couple other school groups as well. So they're already on the platform engaging, versus Go High Level. And I think Go High Level, we have a white label of it. So I'm a big believer in Go High Level for everything else when we connect the two of the platforms. But Go High Level doesn't have as many users like on the community platform. So if you have a high ticket offer, people are going to engage on the community if you have it on Go High Level. But as far as building a free community, they would have to be showing up just for your group, which it's harder to create engagement there. We've had a lot of success with Circle as well. But I do think that, like, pro tip, and ideally it's best to get off the social media platforms, just because a lot of these platforms are coming out that are specific for community, personal growth and development, where people are showing up to that platform with that intention, versus a Facebook group. I might be going to say happy birthday to grandma and then like hopping in the group like it. So it's just like people are distracted on those platforms. But I also say that, like, if I have a decent audience on Instagram and the community I want to create is 10 realtors and we just want to have a group chat and like go get coffee once a week, like, a community can look a lot different. If that's the case, it may just be an Instagram group chat. So you don't have to overcomplicate it. But if you're trying to create a community at scale, school is my favorite platform right now.
That's great. And by the way, I hate time stamping anything podcast or whatever oriented, but I think it's relevant when we talk about technology anytime. It is March 18th, 2025 right now when we're recording this. So if you're catching this 2 years from now, school, high level, circle, who freaking knows? Instagram? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, things change so fast, but the principles remain the same. Like, that's follow principles here. Always follow principles. The tools and tactics specifically that are available in one day are not the same every time. So follow the principles. All right. So how do you entice, and I don't know another way to say it, but we're all marketers in life. We're all in marketing and sales of some sort. How do you entice people to say, oh, I'm willing to leave Instagram, for instance, and head over to, we'll say school, and start joining this community of 100 people, 500 people, 1,000 people? Like, it's actually effort. I got to create a login, trade in a little email, blah, 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 all this stuff. How do you get somebody, how do you entice, create enough value, whatever, to get somebody to make that move?
Yeah, and this is a lot of the stuff that I feel like I've learned working with you, but it's really that transformation. Like, why are they going to be engaging with your community, and what transformation is it going to provide them? Because you're 100% right that we're distracted by all the different platforms, social media, notifications, everything going on. So if I'm going to be showing up to a community, engaging with the other people in the group, let alone like watching the courses, showing up to live calls, like, if I'm going to be an active user, it has to be some sort of transformation that's being provided. So for our case and like all the clients that we work with, it's always like, how can we create such a no-brainer offer? Because that, like, we all know in the marketing space what a lead magnet is. So you could lead with, get our PDF or get some sort of lead magnet, where we're using communities as a lead magnet and stacking it with value of like course content very specific to the niche and the ideal client that person is serving. And how can we like walk them through a journey and provide them with like real value, which is then going to get them to show up to the live calls because they want to ask the coach or expert some more questions. And then they're engaging in the group with things that they've learned. So you have to, in a very short period of time, when someone joins the group, be able to provide some sort of like quick win and transformation for them, which then, gets them engaged and more involved because they want to continue to learn from that group. But yeah, I will say that if you don't, it's very easy for people do it all the time on Facebook groups where I got 10,000 users, but it's crickets in there. So it's really important to create engagement that you have that.
And do you find that people engage with your content, or the people you teach their content like the stuff's already pre-recorded, or is it more the, hey, I do this weekly live call, or is it the actual community, like hanging out with other people who are in there that aren't the experts like you are?
Both. Like, you want to definitely structure and create a lot of peer-to-peer engagement, because you don't want it to be all involved around the coach or the expert or the person that's educating. However, I will say that I think it's super important that there's some sort of connection point. So whether that's a live call or an in-person event, I personally feel that's best for any sort of community that you're building, because if it's just all, it kind of goes back to that audience concept. Like, if it's all just like a group thread or whatever, like that could work, but it's going to have a lot more potency if it is something where I can actually show up and meet Chris, and then I get to learn from you live on a call. And this happens once a week. Now I'm tuned in and I'm like involved in your way of thinking and the stuff that you're teaching us. So like, it holds a lot more weight when you have some sort of live or virtual session where people can be involved with community, because that's when they actually like feel the value of the community. But discussion threads can work well.
What do you think about charging versus free on these communities? Are we talking like, I mean, do you see best practice? Should it be free, or should it be $7, or should it be $100? Like, where do you go with this?
Really good question. So I'm going through this with a client right now, and I stand by pretty strong, like free to paid. And you could do, when like a creator or someone who has a huge audience, you can have the argument or the conversation of like, we should just go to a paid offer, whether it's $50 a month to $250 a month, just going to some sort of like lower ticket paid monthly recurring community. But the way that I see it is, if I have 150,000 subscribers on YouTube, instead of me constantly being on there promoting like, hey, sign up for my $50 a month community, like constantly trying to sell and get people to sign up for like a low ticket community, instead you could just lead with value, where it's like, hey, we built this free group, join us inside the free group where we have tons more value. And that becomes your sales mechanism, versus having to do that on the front end on social media platforms. Like, on the social media, you just remain yourself and just promoting this free value that you're able to give away, and then make that a very easy ascension path of, they can stay in the free group and get value from that if that's what they please. But then the people who are qualified and really want to work with you in your higher ticket offer, whatever that may be, it's a very easy path for them to understand, this is how I'm able to work with him one-on-one or in a small mastermind setting or whatever that offer looks like.
So you're saying, this makes a lot of sense. So you're saying from Instagram, we'll say push to, hey, I have this free community, tons of value, just come on over, enjoy yourself. That's step one. And then step two, straight to like, hey, now we've got to know each other, jump into our $30,000 offer? Or should there be like this ramp up where there's like a 47, 197 or something like that kind of offer hanging out in the community, and then once they're there, then they can ascend into something bigger?
Both. So you could do either. So the free community is really just like your hub, where people are getting to know, like, and trust you. You're providing free value to the marketplace, where now whoever you serve, you're able to bring them together and provide value. And then you could go to like some sort of low ticket, $150 a month, join us here, and then you get X bonus, like a more value that they're looking for. Say, just to give like an example, say in this free community, once a month they get a webinar. And then in this $150 a month community, every single week they get like a small mastermind session. And then in this 30K community, we're doing an in-person event, 3-day event, XYZ. So like, just having clear differentiation of the value in the three groups. But honestly, for high ticket coaching offers, I personally don't really like even having that middle group. It's like, we build this free group to just build our ecosystem and build connections with people that we can serve. And then whether that's through booked calls, through onboarding calls, through DMs, like setting up calls, but just like set up, whether that be one-on-one or webinar calls, and use that as your selling mechanism to sell the 30K offer, versus having that middle section. But the answer is both. I've seen people do both and have a lot of success.
I love it. Okay, this is really cool. Do you mind me asking more questions?
Please do.
Okay, this is great. So in person versus virtual, that's a question we get for the mastermind and group coaching build all the time. Do you get that question with the community side of things? Like, when I was hanging out with you in person in Arizona with your Arizona Entrepreneurs Association, like, in person was freaking awesome. We're all hanging out in this super cool restaurant location and everybody's getting to know each other. Which do you prefer, or does it matter, or is it just kind of whatever the preference?
Preference and vision for scalability. Like the in-person is just clearly more scalable, but it's also it's more valuable. That's inevitable if you're able to actually shake someone's hand and build a real connection, or if you learn from a speaker. It just there's a lot more value when you are in person. So from the scalability side of it, that's why we really doubled down on online communities and working with like coaches and experts in that space, just because since that is blowing up, like these different platforms, Circle, School, like the community building, just the last 2 years, you can see in the info product space, like people used to just be going straight to like buy my course for $1,000, or like it was a lot of like just straight to call to action. But now I feel like there's a trust recession and people want to like get to know, like, and trust someone before they're going to buy. So whether that's YouTube content and being able to binge the creators' YouTube content or join a free community, like there's a lot of different ways that you can provide that trust online. But I say that because for the virtual versus in person, it's really just comes down to scalability and what the overall intention of the community is. So it's not really one size fits all, but I will likely continue to do virtual events every single month for the rest of my life here in Arizona, because it's brought me like so many insane connections. It gives me the opportunity to speak on stage every single month, to connect with big creators and entrepreneurs in the space. So it provides so much value to me. But with that being said, I'm not treating that as like my main revenue driver or income stream. So from a scalability lens, like I see a lot more value in building the online communities right now.
Oh, I love it. Okay. You brought up a really good point too. You said you get a ton of value, like your in-person in Arizona thing. You get a ton of value from bringing cool people in there, all that kind of stuff, the connections. Is it, so there's people who are part of someone else's community and they use that as kind of a platform they can siphon relationships off of. And then there's owning your own community and being the person. Can you talk about the value? Go a little deeper on that, because I see that every freaking day at Group Coach Nation, like being like the founder of that is enormously valuable compared to being part of the thing. And I don't mean from our team standpoint, but in other masterminds that I'm part of as a participant, I get so much value out of those rooms, but I'm not the person in those rooms who actually gets to hang out with the keynote speakers and all that stuff. But as leader of Group Coach Nation, oh my gosh, the like real connections I get are just so cool. Is that, has that worked that way for you too? And talk through that.
Yeah, very much so. And I guess just to kind of like look at the last 4.5 years of doing Arizona Entrepreneurs, it's super interesting, because like kind of what I alluded to and shared a little bit at the beginning, like when I first started Arizona Entrepreneurs, I was genuinely like, nobody knew who I was out here. I was struggling as an entrepreneur. Like I was way less confident, like the version of myself that started it versus the version of myself now. And that was all through like me being able to invite these like incredible speakers on stage, like Joe Polish and like Cole Gordon and all these huge names that found value in being able to like support and add value to our community of entrepreneurs. It's like their type of people and who they serve. So being able to build those relationships, like the version of myself that just started Arizona Entrepreneurs, like I didn't really feel like deserving of that. But in addition, I didn't like have a way to give value to these people that I really looked up to and wanted to get around in business. So it provided me a lot of connections with like the mentors, the coaches, the people that I really look up to in this space. But then also just like overall, like peer-to-peer, like relationships and like my friendships and the people that I travel with and do business with, like it brought me just like a huge social circle of people that I'm like on a similar journey with out here in Arizona that are my close friends. And like, I really value that, because the version of myself that started it was new to Arizona, struggling, lonely. Like I didn't have those type of relationships. So it was very impactful from that lens. And just like the credibility, like speaking on stages and bringing together hundreds of people every single month, like the amount of other stages I've been asked to speak on, podcasts, things of that nature, where people are like, oh, he's speaking to 200 people, he must know something. And so it just like from the credibility, the relationships, the opportunity for business, as far as like people that work with me inside a community launch that met me through Arizona Entrepreneurs and through different offers. Like it has just really provided a ton of value there. And then the last thing I'll say is the opportunity, like to be a connector, to be able to be a connector, but also just like building this huge audience where we have a huge email list. We do an event every single month and have hundreds of people there, have a big Instagram following. So that audience and that community that I've created over the last 4.5 years is extremely valuable for different, like we're going to do a live session, and the fact that we're able to like get 50 people on that live call right away is because of this work that I've done in the last few years building this group of people. So I could go on and on about it, man, but it's crazy to actually look back and just like see how much just me starting a community and deciding like lead this group of entrepreneurs has changed my life over the last few years.
Man, I love that. I'm hearing this echo in my mind, the phrase dig your well before you're thirsty. And you've been digging a well and now you got water pumping out of that thing. That's so great. Good for you. Like truly good for you. Oh, by the way, for those of you listening in, not watching, I'm sorry. I keep flashing up on the screen here Devin's Instagram account. That's the best way to connect to Devin. He's awesome over there, does a lot of content delivery over there. And yes, you could even get invited to his online community. Though seriously though, for real though, like why wouldn't you check it out? Because he shows you exactly how to do stuff. So Instagram, it's at Devin Ray Butler, DevinRaybutler, at Devin Ray Butler. All right, so Devin, when you're building a community and you have, by the way, I just love how you're giving so much value, not to, this is a side note, not to just the people in the community, but the people you have come speak in your community, like a Joe Polish. I mean, that's just perfect. Joe gets value out of that. You get value out of that. Everybody just, that's just great. Well done. Like you've really just created a well of water that's just really nourishing to a lot of people. So I think that's super cool. Just well done you. When you're building this thing, how do you know when to start it? Is there I want to have a community yesterday. Okay, well then you should start now. If you're like, oh, I really want this thing up and running in 6 months or a year or 3 months, is there like a runway, a timeline to think through?
Yeah, a lot sooner than you think because just as an example, like I've had quite a few friends or just people that reach out to me like on socials where they're like, I'm planning on doing an event next month. I'm going to bring all these entrepreneurs together, and they don't have like an audience of people to promote it to. Like they just think that they're going to be able to fill a room with 100+ people next month. And I will say that it takes more time than that. And one of the things that I did with Arizona Entrepreneurs, this wasn't intentional. This was more so just imposter syndrome and me being scared to start it. But I built the social media and I built the Instagram audience for about 8 months. I'm not saying you have to do that, but it was super beneficial that we had a couple thousand followers on Instagram before our first event because we had somewhat of an audience to promote this event that we had coming up to. So I will say, like, if you don't have any audience and you want to start a community, like it makes a lot more sense to start it now, whether it's a free online community, like start it now and start to just fill it with people. So when you decide to do that big offer, whether that's a live event or a webinar, whatever the case may be, so you actually have people to promote that too, because a lot of people think that they're just going to come flocking the second they post an event flyer up. But then in addition, like I shared before, there are strategies to mitigate that and to fill communities a lot quicker, but it's just going to have upfront investment like paid advertising and some of the cold outreach approaches. But that's how you're able to fill these groups a lot quicker.
Yeah. So there it is, everybody. Like dig your well before you're thirsty. The best time to start digging that well is always today.
Yeah.
It's always today. Especially when it comes to something where you have to build relationship. If you're a really good person, and I mean this for all of you in Group Coach Nation, hopefully you really are a really good person. I can't see in your heart and judge your motives. But if you're really here to help the people that you're serving, the community you're going to build, then the sooner you build that, the better, because it does take, I think, Devin, what you said about there being just a drought of trust.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's so real. or a trust recession, I think is what you called it. It takes time, and it's funny because trust isn't something that takes number of days on a calendar. Trust is something that takes real connection and repetition of that real connection. And the sooner you have people in a community space where you can actually really show them, I know what I'm talking about. I'm actually an okay human. Like, we can do this together. That's such a big thing. So start now. It's not a plug to go buy something. It's truly a plug to start now. If you don't start this with Devin, start this somewhere else. Again, Devin's Instagram is right there on the screen. Devin Ray Butler on Instagram. If you don't start with Devin, start with somebody else. And I'm not saying that to push people away from Devin, but truly start freaking now. And I wish I had started the community building, Devin, that we did 20 years earlier. I don't know. People are like, I wish I started this last year. No, I wish I had started it like decades earlier, because we have an awesome community now, but I can't imagine where it would have been if I had been 5 years, 10 years, 20 years ahead of that. And I know every platform imaginable has changed, but who freaking cares? You can move people between platforms. The point is, I wish the relationships I always wish the relationships had started sooner. I've never not thought that about good relationships.
Yeah, I would totally agree. And just to piggyback off that, just like with my experience engaging with these other communities, and part of the reason I decided to double down on like this free to paid model, and that's what I do with Arizona entrepreneurs as well. Like, we give people an opportunity to like come to one of our events for free and see what the room's like. We give them an opportunity to like come to guest speaker sessions every single month, virtual networking event, and just like make it extremely valuable on the front end. That way, if they're not in a position to join, no worries at all. I still have a way to impact thousands of entrepreneurs throughout Arizona. But then in addition, if it is someone who is qualified and is like a good fit for our inner circle, they just receive so much value from us on the front end for free, to where they're like, I love this group. I want to be a part of it. So it really becomes like the best sales system, where you're able to just build trust and provide free value to your people at scale. And then from there, the ones who you truly want to work with, like your ideal clients, are going to like clearly show up and be very clear about that. And other programs that I've worked with and like been a part of, just like seeing that same model where I join, and even if it's just through some course content, but where I get a transformation or like an epiphany shift, like that's extremely valuable to me. And just instantly that creator, that person that I'm learning from, becomes so much more valuable in my mind, where it's like, wow, they could probably help me solve this pain point that I'm going through in my life.
I love it. Yeah. Oh, this is just popped in my mind. I don't know why you mentioned this earlier, Devin. Okay, contact Devin at his Instagram account, Devin Ray Butler. Okay. Devin and I are doing something coming up here. If you're listening to this later in the game, so sorry. I already said what date this is. It's the 18th of March. Devin, you and I are hosting a thing. Is it like it's on the 27th, I think?
Yeah. Thursday, March 27th. Yeah.
Yeah. Of 2025. So we're putting together a group where we're doing live Q&A, and everybody, y'all can come and watch us do this. Like, this is super great. So our expertise at Group Coach Nation, building high ticket group coaching programs and masterminds. So very high ticket, very highly monetized group coaching programs and masterminds. Devin's world is bringing all these people in, building that know, like, and trust community. Like, this is a perfect strategy play for us to do this together, because the information we both are really good at, like, works really well for all of you. So on the 25th, we're hosting a panel type discussion, live Q&A, where we're going to break down, here's what we do, each of us in our own zones of genius. We're going to do breakout rooms and explain more stuff in detail. We're going to let just anybody in the audience ask questions, like really get your brain around this, because if you're building and monetizing, or wanting to build and monetize, now is the time. So the best way to do this, I think, reach out to Devin. Devin Ray Butler on Instagram. Devin has all the details, Zoom links, all the stuff. That's a free event.
Yeah, free event, and then March 27th, and I think we're due at 12 p.m. PST.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
12 Pacific, March 27. Yeah, that's Exactly what I got. 2 Central, 12 Pacific, 3 Eastern. Yep, 1 Mountain. Okay, we got them all covered. Sorry about you folks in Hawaii and Alaska. You have to figure it out on your own. Okay, so here's what we're doing then. Reach out to Devin Ray Butler, DevinRaybutler on Instagram at Devin Ray Butler, and reach out to Devin for his own community stuff. Learn how to build and monetize communities. If you want to come to our panel discussion, we're doing live Q&A on that as well. Just drop that in the DM to Devin. Say, hey, I heard this mentioned. Can I grab a spot on that? And we'll get you the contact info for that. Super straightforward. Devin, thank you. It's a privilege.
Thank you. I appreciate you. It's been an honor being part of Group Coach Nation, and this stuff all is just very much so in alignment with like building a group coaching offer and a scalable offer. But in addition, being able to like you said a second ago, just build a community of people who get to know, like, and trust you. So I'm super grateful for our connection. I appreciate you having me on.
All right, folks, wherever you're finding this, if you're finding this on whatever platform or on our newsletter list or whatever, fire back. If you want to talk to Devin and you can't quite figure out how to get in touch with him or have questions about it, just reply back, comment below, whatever you do. We got you. We're always watching. Always watching. Okay. I love Monsters, Inc. That's such a great movie. Okay. Leave y'all to it. Do the work, get the results. As always, do work, get results. We just encourage you all. Don't just do work to be a hustle lifestyle person. This is not just about working 60 hours a week. Oh my gosh, please don't. This is about freedom. And you got to do the right work to get the right results. So do the work, get results. Just please make sure it's the right work. And that's what these conversations are all about. All right, Devin. See you later.
Appreciate you.
Group Coach Nation. Y'all have a great one. Do the work.